Hi there, this is Luise Heinzel. Nice to see you here today. This is part 2 of my mini-series about this cute little envelope notebook I've created for the Tim Holtz and Sizzix Christmas 2023 release. If you have missed part 1, where I have created the base for this little notebook, then you can find the link down below this video. In today's video and also in tomorrow's video, which will become part 3 of this series, I'm going to create the pages and all of these little flaps and pockets that this journal has. As you can see, this is Christmas themed. Of course it is, because it was for the Christmas release by Tim Holtz and Sizzix. But what I'm trying to say is you can of course transfer this idea or little ideas, because this is not only one idea, to any other theme that you like. If you are not into Christmas yet, then please just look what you have or what you like and try to just change the theme with the ideas that I'm trying to show you here. The basic idea behind this envelope notebook was to bring the die cuts and especially the negative pieces of the die cuts into a junk journalish context, if that is a word. So I've tried to use a lot of those pieces that some people would probably throw into the trash can. The first thing that you can see here as an example is this little pocket that I'm just creating here. So I've just used the leftover piece where I've cut out this little plant, and because it was inked, I had a really cool color already, and without any effort I could create my pocket. As you can see, I'm hopping from one page to the other. This video is a little bit confusing perhaps because it's a process video and not a tutorial. So that is something that I perhaps should say now before you watch the rest and before you are confused and don't know what I'm doing here. I have recorded my process like I have what is the word? I mean, this is the process exactly how I went through it while I have created this. And this is not a tutorial where I say, well, first we are going to use this and then this, and we put this here and this there. But as you can see, only with this little pocket thingy that I'm just making here now with this little transparency, I had a lot of, like hopping around, thinking, where do I want to place this thing? And it developed during my process. So as you can see, this is made out of an inked background where I first had cut out this little shape there. And now I'm trying to get a pocket where you can see through the shape of this little flower there. Or, is it called flower? I'm not so sure if that is the right English word, but you know what I mean. So you can of course do that with any other shape as well. And I think those leftover pieces have so much potential, especially for a junk journal, that is just incredible. I sometimes, to be honest, like to play with the negative things first before I use the actual shapes of the die cuts, because that gives me something like a better idea of what I want to do. And of course you have also the possibility to create really nice backgrounds, for example, or interesting pockets. You could use this as it is, but of course you can also collage onto that or put another focal point on top of that, and the possibilities of those things that normally would go into the trash cans for me are just endless. So this little pocket finally goes to this package of the guitar strings. So if you have seen the last video, you know what that is. Below the pocket, there's just a little package of guitar strings. You could use also a paper bag or any other kind of pocket or just paper. But I thought it looks interesting when you can look through this negative space. And that's also why I have attached this transparent material that was just a leftover from a packaging. I think that was a stamp packaging or something like that. And in this envelope notebook, I've also tried to get some contrasting things, not only with colors, but also with the style of what I'm doing there. So here, for example, with the reindeers and this little sleigh and this little, I just wanted to say greenery, but it's black. It is, then it's blackery perhaps in the background. This is a relatively concrete scene, isn't it? I mean, you can see the animals and you can see those botanicals. It's concrete. But you will also see that I've mixed that on other pages with more abstract elements. And that was for me like a really meditative process, because when you are not so looking to make exactly what is on the package and assemble the die cuts in a different way, then you can experience so much freedom while creating. For me, that is just incredible. I really love that. And that's probably also why this is relatively chaotic, and my process is like a little rabbit which is hopping around. But for me that makes the most sense, because when you concentrate on one card, for example, or one little area, and you are not satisfied and you don't know what to do, in my eyes it makes no sense to stay on that page or with this little spot that you are trying to create. But it makes more sense to step a little back and then later on look at it again, and then you perhaps see something that you like better, or you find a little piece that matches better. And that is for me easier to create a complex journal like this. So for this little card, I've taken the moon from the Halloween release, because I thought it looks great when the reindeers are like flying into the direction of the moon, but the moon will go into the little pocket on the right of this actual reindeer arrangement, so that they are separated, but they have this connection because it looks like the reindeers are flying into the direction of the moon. And for this moon, I tried to take the advantages of my background. So as you can see, I'm smearing around with a little crayon on this inked background. The paper itself is just a piece of backdrop paper, and I didn't want to have those like fancy things in the background, because I wanted this moon really grungy, like the whole journal. I mean, you can already see that, and I've told you that in the last video as well, that I wanted to embrace grunge with this journal. And because of that, I've tried to keep the moon as simple as possible, but I also wanted to have it like glowing out of the grunge a little bit. I don't know if you can see that one, but that was my goal. For this little pocket, I've just teared this vellum envelope, and it already had this really cool texture because I've made it wet before and added some ink. And here I'm adding more ink to get more grunge. And for this whole journal, and this little pocket is a good example for that, I've tried to embrace simplicity as well. You can see there are only a few colors, so simple colors, all brown and black and white. And also with the techniques for the grunge, I've tried to keep it really simple. And the choice of my materials was like, helping me with that. Because, for example, on this little envelope, the material of the envelope is vellum. And when you make vellum wet, then you get this texture automatically. And it automatically looks grungy after it has dried. And that's what I mean by simplicity. Yeah. So I didn't want to have those like fancy papers. I mean, I've used some backdrops. That is, you know, relatively fancy, isn't it? I mean, the backdrops are really, really cool and I really like them. And I especially like to combine those with those really simple and daily materials. Yeah, because vellum, I mean, that is something that you have in your stash probably, or book pages or something like that, or CD sleeves and all of that stuff, some upcycled materials as well. And the combination of that, like a board paper, like the backdrops, and then this like junk material, this combination is just great in my eyes. So, yeah, here I've assembled some of these stars and decorated this little pocket with them. So if you are wondering why I don't say the names of the single die cut sets, it has a relatively easy reason. Perhaps that's also easier for you to follow what I'm doing here. So let me explain that. I have used several different pieces from several different sets, and I've also assembled them not exactly in the way like they are on the package. Sometimes I've used just single pieces, like those little berries or the little stars, and the rest of the die cut set is not on that page. So it would make it relatively confusing if I would tell you every single name of every single set every time when I take one of these little pieces and glue that down. You would be totally confused. So I have made something on my blog so that you can read that after watching the video if you want. So on my blog you can find detailed pictures of the single pages of this envelope notebook, and there you can also find the single pieces of the die cuts that I have used for the different areas. And there you can also find the names, and you will also find links where you can buy those die cut sets. Those links will go to Simon Says Stamp, and you can purchase those items there if you want. So those are affiliate links, and you can support my channel if you buy the products with those affiliate links. So for all of you who have already done that, thank you very much. That helps a lot. And if you don't know my blog yet, then you can find, of course, the link down below, not only for this project, but also for other things that I've already documented there. And of course, if you have any suggestions or any questions, then please let me know in the comments. So let's go to the next page and this next little pocket. As you can see, I have used the negative of the die cut, so the leftover, as a stencil to be able to spray through that with a spray. And I wanted to have a really, really extreme contrast on that left page, which is just out of frame. It comes back in a second, I guess. And I've also tried to use the little berries and also other little tiny pieces like the leaves of those little plants to create something like a mark making thingy. Do you know that from art journaling? I think so. The people who make really, really gorgeous art journals take, like, for example, book pages or other materials like packaging paper or so, and then they take a paintbrush or a marker in black or in white or other colors, but let's stay with black so that I can explain that easier for this project. And then they, for example, make a whole page with black dots or a whole page with black lines. Mark making. So that's, I think, the right word for that. And then they tear that up and use that in their collages in their art journals. And every time when I see that, I'm like, oh, that is just so great. And to be honest, I've tried that so often, and that seems to be something that I am not able to do. I don't know why, but I don't like my mark making. I don't know why. But when I saw those berries and also the other little shapes of the die cut release, I was like, holy moly, what if I cut that out from black paper and then glue that down? Yeah, so for example, on the left side, you can see 3 of the little berries in a row, and that shall be an imitation, of such a mark making paper. The same with this one, which I'm creating here. So I have taken these three little guys and I've placed them next to each other onto this little scrap paper. And with a little bit of white acrylic paint, I think that looks really artsy. And for me, this is the solution for making those marks. And I thought, Luise, that is a little bit embarrassing. To be honest, before making this voiceover here, I thought, can I tell you that it is too hard for me if I take a paintbrush and make black marks on a book page or just a paper? Can I really say that? And then I thought, yes, I can, because it's the reality for me. And that is my problem, yeah? So why can't I talk about it? Of course I can, because it can perhaps also be helpful for you if you have those things where you feel like embarrassed because it seems so simple, yeah? Because making marks on a book page with black acrylic paint, that seems so simple, but for some people, like me, it isn't. And when I then find something like a tool, in this case a die cut, that I can use for creating such an effect, yeah, what else can I wish for? I mean, that is just cool, yeah? And for me, especially the shapes from this release are really, really not only versatile, but also the perfect size for a project like this. Mark making, fake mark making. I think we should call it like that. It's fake mark making because I've just glued paper down. Yeah. So, but that is something, and that is also a reason why I'm talking about that so long. I wish you could see that more. Yeah. I mean, that's not for everyone what I'm saying here, but for those of you who leave those comments like, oh, that looks so easy, what you are doing there, and that is so professional, what you are doing there. No, it isn't. I mean, yeah, perhaps it's professional because I know my tools and I know my mediums and I have experienced a lot, and I think I can say I know what I'm doing here. Yeah, so is that already professional? Please decide that for yourself. But this like perfect look, what other people see, what is that? It's perfect for me. That doesn't mean that it has to be perfect for the other people as well. If you see it as perfect, then of course that's great. But what is that? I'm just trying to use those things that make my life easier, and I wish you could see that in your own craft room with your own things as well. And that's why I'm talking about black marks on paper that are not made with paint or a marker, but with die cuts. Yeah, so I think there are so many possibilities out there where we just have to see what fits our needs, and then we should just do it instead of thinking, oh, that's too simple, I can't do that. Yeah, so also for this little tag, that's another example. You have seen me gluing this tree down. The tree from the Trimetry die cut is just cut out from a relatively thin ledger paper. That is, by the way, an original ledger paper that was a receipt from my grandma. And I've realized that I can read the half of my name, Louise, there, because, I mean, Louise is originally the name of my grandma, yeah? So that was a thing, that was coincidence, but I've realized that later. That is really cool. But back to the tree. I've cut that out from relatively thin paper to create the background for my tag. Why? Not why. Some people think, oh, I see a die cut, I have to cut that out from really thick paper because I have to glue that to a card base. No, you don't. Yeah, you can also use those things for like junk journals and cut that out from really flimsy and thin paper. Just use a really strong glue, and then you can use that for a background, for example, like I've used it for the background for this tag. That doesn't have to be this like dimensional focal point thing on a card. Of course, you can use it as a focal point, yeah, but there are so many other possibilities, and that's what this little notebook shall show. The cards that I have put into the pockets, the most of the cards I have sewn down to the pocket. I mean, I have sewn around the pocket after I had put the card inside. That makes no sense at first glance, but I have done that this journal stays relatively simple, because I've made this for the Tim Holtz live video, and you know he has to show that there, and then it has to be really simple and not with too much things that you can put in and take out. So I've tried to keep that relatively simple, but if you want to do that for your own and or to gift it away or something, then of course you could also make the cards removable. Yeah, there's no need to sew them down. For the inside of the CD sleeves, I have decided that I want to have something relatively flat. So I have put some texture paste, that is grit paste snowfall, I guess, to this piece of backdrop paper. And while that was drying, I've colored this Santa Claus. I wanted to have him a little bit like wood. So I've chosen browns and grays. And then I have put that onto the already assembled colorized die cut, and I have dried that in between relatively well so that I can see the colors, how they look when everything is dry. You know, with oxide sprays and oxide inks, the dried result always looks a little bit different, so that I could imagine how this will look in the end. And that was just a fantastic process. I mean, this is also such a thing. I think most of the times I take my colorized die cuts and I cut them out from white paper, just white paper. Then you have a really, really stressful time to assemble the pieces because they are all white. And sometimes I have problems to see which piece is what and what goes where. But if you have managed to assemble them one time, then you know it for the future, and it's really, really easy. But what I'm trying to say is some people cut the pieces out from different colors of paper, but I like to use just white paper and then just paint over the layers, and then you also get this really nice depth, which you can hopefully see on this Santa here, which you wouldn't get so easily. I mean, you can get that by cutting out different colors of paper, but it's, in my eyes, it's easier. Yeah, just let the ink run where it wants to go into these little slots and everywhere, and you get this effect automatically. It's so easy. Yeah, so I have cut the Santa in half, and now one half goes to the back of this little pocket there of the guitar strings, and yeah, that's it for now. So I hope that you could get some inspiration from this, that you could get some ideas. Please don't forget to check out my blog if you want to know more about the names and all of the single pieces of the die cuts that came with this release. And also, of course, I'm showing you the embossing folders that came with the release in the blog as well. And tomorrow we are going to finish this. So there will come a third part of this mini series. That is then the last part. And I'm going to decorate the rest of those pages. I hope you enjoyed this, and I wish you a very great day. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.